Hey all, today we have a very serious topic about numbers, conversion rates. So we will be talking about metrics that measure your app's performance, which metrics to track, where to take them from, how often we look at our metrics, where to store everything. So all things numbers. Now, for bigger companies, there is usually a data person that would help you with this. There are usually dashboards that can help you, visualize all those metrics. A developer or software engineer can also help you set up different integrations, so that you don't really have to do anything manual. Yeah. In smaller companies, the setup can be different. Yeah, so no matter what your setup is, today we are looking at not how we build dashboards, right? But which metrics actually matter, what is the source of these metrics, and how do we move forward working with them. Now, before we start actually looking into App Store Connect and Google Play Console, I would like to explain to you what is a pirate funnel. Yeah, and why I actually use it when I work with apps. A pirate funnel is a classical growth marketing funnel that helps you understand a user journey. So, all those steps that a user takes in order to stay with your product and bring you some revenue, right? Because every step of this funnel matters. We cannot, track only impressions, or we cannot track only our subscribers if we are a subscription based app, because everything starts from somewhere. Yeah, and in order to get to the subscription, a user must complete all those previous steps. That's why I will briefly explain to you what all of these steps are. The funnel is called a pirate funnel or an R funnel. Yeah, AAA, triple R. Now, the order of these steps can actually vary from an app to an app, because every app has a different monetization strategy. They have a different user journey. That's why it is okay if for you the order of these steps will be a little bit different. I will explain which of them means, and then maybe you can apply it to your own app. So everything starts with awareness. And awareness here, when we talk about awareness, it's not brand awareness, yeah, in its classical traditional meaning. Because brand awareness is something a bit abstract, yeah, that is quite hard to measure. Here, in our case, all of these steps are measurable. They have some number that we will track. Awareness is how do I get my users? Yeah, where do I get them from? And this is measured, if we are talking about App Store app, for example, in impressions. Yeah, so how many users find me? How many users see me in the search results? This will be a measurement for our awareness. For Google Play, it will be store list and visitors, because there is no such a number as an impression for an Android app. After a user found us, yeah, now they are aware that such an app exists. What's their next step? Their next step would usually be, hopefully, a download. Yeah. So the next step of the pirate funnel is an acquisition. And again, acquisition here, it doesn't mean that we already acquired, we bought this user, and now this user is generating revenue for us, right? It's just the next step of the user journey. We now have this user in order to activate him or her, right? So a download would be a good measure for the app, a metric for the app to measure the acquisition step. That's our download. The next step is activation. So after a user downloads our app, in most of the apps there will be some kind of an onboarding, either some kind of an onboarding sequence that explains them what the app is about, delivers some benefits or user values, because with these onboarding steps we are trying to activate the user and help them reach this aha moment. This aha moment is when a user understands that, yes, I want this app, right? And it doesn't mean that a user is activated just, once. There can actually be several activation moments, but there should be this one, first initial activation step that we will be measuring, and most likely it will be a start of a trial, if we have a trial. Then, of course, we will want to measure maybe, I don't know, some steps that or some actions that user does inside of the app in order to be activated even more, right? So that the aha, there can be several aha moments. But for us, when we measure this activation step, that would maybe be a trial. For some apps, a registration is also required, and it can be either before the activation phase or after the activation phase. So this is also something that we need to keep in mind based on how our app works. We will put it either in an acquisition step or maybe activation step, or in between. Now, after the activation starts, there is some trial period, maybe 3 days, maybe 7 days. After these 3 or 7 days, user either stays with us or leaves us. And after that, they turn into a subscriber. So we have these 2 steps here, retention and revenue. So usually keeping a user for 3 or 7 days is already an indication that the user has retained with us. And a revenue would be that a user turned into a first-time subscriber. So this will be our first subscriber. And then the last step is referrals. Now, also one point I want to mention is that it doesn't necessarily mean that all of the apps have this last step of referrals, right? So you might not have a referral program. You might not have any features that let a user share any of the content. So that's fine. But if there is a referral option, then you would be measuring the number of referrals. So this is a pirate funnel, and each of the steps, as I mentioned, is measurable. It has some absolute metric, but in between we are also measuring those conversion metrics. For example, for a user to switch from the awareness stage to the acquisition stage, we need to improve our conversion rate to download. So we are not only measuring the number of impressions and number of downloads, we also need to measure our conversion rate. Then for a user to turn from acquisition stage to an activation stage, we constantly need to work on our onboarding and increase our conversion rate from a download to trial, or download to registration if there is registration. So that's the logic. I like using this funnel when I'm tracking the app's performance, because to me here all the important steps are captured. And when I see this picture, then it is easier for me to identify the holes, or some weak steps. And then I understand, okay, conversion rate to download is actually pretty low. This is the step that we should work on, and we start hypothesizing on how do we do that, what kind of A/B tests we want to launch, etc. There are other funnels, on the names of the funnels. You can pick the one that you like the most and use that one, as long as it captures each important step of the user journey. You're good to go. Now let's talk about where we actually take all of those metrics, right? So we have two consoles. One is App Store Connect and one is Google Play Console. Let's start with iOS apps first. So we will go to App Store Connect and we are in the Analytics tab and we need to select an app. Let's select this app. First we see this dashboard. Yeah, we can select the dates. Usually I track app performance on a monthly basis, so I would select a date range that equals 1 month. Now these metrics, they are approximate, and here if you look at impressions, these are not unique impressions. If you look at downloads, these are total downloads. So we need to go to metrics here, and here you have all kinds of metrics that you can look at. What I like to measure is unique impressions. Then we can also look at unique product page views, first time downloads, and total downloads, right? Then we have sales, but these, and you can also look at the number of your in-app purchases, proceeds, sales, etc. Take into account that if you are a subscription-based apps, so your in-app purchases and proceeds will capture new subscriptions plus renewals, right? This is also very important for the business. But if we wanna, usually what I would put is a number of new subscribers, a number of new trials, just to have a better understanding of how my funnel works. So if I get one unique impression or like 100 unique impressions, how many of those translate into first-time downloads? And then how many of those first-time downloads translate into a trial or registration, and so forth, right? So for business purposes and revenue tracking, of course, you need to track your active subscriptions as well. But if we talk about this initial report that measures our acquisition effort, then I would rather track first time trialists and new subscribers. Now this was here we can track everything up to a download. App Store Connect doesn't give you information about a start of a new trial. There are no reports like that here. For that, you will need to work with a developer, and this data can be taken from the App Store API. If you're a marketer, then talk to your developer so you can get this data from them. But from here, you can actually see the number of the new subscribers. If you are a subscription-based app, you can track the number of your new subscribers. It can be done through a sales and trends report. So when you go there, you will see on the left side here this called events, and activations are your new subscribers. So here you can actually also add this filter, add an event type as an activation, and then you will see the number of your activations per this month. And if you want to break it down, if you have several types of subscriptions and you want to break it down, how many annual subscriptions you had, etc., you need to go to subscriptions here. I will not do that because it's the console of my client, so I cannot disclose this data. But if you click on subscription, you will also see how many activations you had, so how many new subscribers you had for your annual plan, weekly plan, monthly plan, etc., etc. If we want to look at Google Play app, we should go to this statistics tab and then select a metric. And here we need to look at the number of store listing visitors, yeah, because there are no impressions, and then the number of our downloads. So there is several ways you can look at that. First, here you have users, and and if you select here user acquisition, you will see all users, new users, and returning users. So these are the number of users who installed your app. Yeah, either they are new or returning or all of them. This page doesn't cover, this section doesn't cover store listing visitors. So if you decide to track this number, just keep this in mind that there is one more metric you need to track. And here you can also analyze store listing performance. And within this section, you actually have your store listing acquisitions, and then also your store listing visitors. So I usually select this section, and I would select the number of new store listing visitors, and then how many new store listing acquisitions I had, and then I would also look at the total number of our downloads. If we, so that was our top of the funnel, right? When you select these metrics, or don't forget to, and when you download your report, don't forget to delete unnecessary countries if you want the total number. Also, don't forget, Google changed recently the default option from last month to last 28 days. So last 30 days to last 28 days. So if you are analyzing a month, don't forget to select the correct date range. And if you want to look at the monetization, we need to go to financial reports, and our subscription overview, and there we'll be able to see the number of total subscriptions, out of them new subscriptions, how many of them were canceled, etc. So that's where you take all the data. Again, as I mentioned above, previously, it is easier if you, as a marketer, work directly with your technical team, because maybe they can help you automate all this data, all this data, so you don't have to download everything manually, especially when it comes to monetization metrics, such as trials and free start of a free trial, which is not always possible to track through these consoles. And then the last part is where do I put all of those metrics, right? And you can have the dashboards if you have a data person, or maybe you by yourself you can build your own dashboards. If you can't, that's also fine. You can track these metrics simply in a Google Sheet. So what I do is, what I would do, I would put then month, which month we are tracking data for, and then we have all those metrics from our pirate funnel, right? So we start with unique impressions. If this is an iOS app, we are adding unique product page views, our first time downloads, total downloads. We are measuring all those conversions that I mentioned, to understand if we have a trouble in our funnel. And then we would have like signups or registrations. Here in the example, it's the number of new subscriptions, but there can also be a trial. And then I would also want to measure what's the conversion from from download to sign up, or from sign up to a subscription, right? So this table can help you cover this funnel up to a subscriber, right? It is hard to put I don't know, retention numbers in one Google sheet. If you want to, you can then break down your subscribers into annual and monthly. Yeah, but as I said, if it's within one Google sheet, it can be a little bit chaotic and maybe a little bit too much. But that's up to you, of course. And then a similar Google sheet you can have for you Google Play performance, and in this way you can track on on a monthly basis how your app is doing. Also, if you have this view, it's easier for you to understand some seasonal trends. Yeah, when you get the most traffic during the year, when your traffic converts better or maybe worse, how holidays impact your downloads or your subscribers or your conversion rates, right? So in this way you will have an overall picture, and of course you can then add any graphs you want to kind of like try to visualize. On this example, I have a graph for a total number of downloads. This can be added by total number of monthly number of signups or subscriptions, etc., etc. In your monthly report sheet, you can also have a tab that has all your keyword rankings throughout those months. Yes, so you understand how it correlates with the number of unique impressions or store listing visitors that you are getting. That would, of course, be a separate tab in this Google Sheet. Up to you how you want to keep track of that. But that was it for today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Subscribe if you need more tips about ASO and organic app growth. Yeah, cheers. See you later.